Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another video for EVE Echoes. Now, last week the Echoes community received some rather sad news. Sovereign RPG, who is one of our foremost content creators, has decided to take an indefinite leave of absence from the game. He may not quit entirely, he may still put out an occasional video here and there, and he may be back at some point in the future, but for now at least he has stated he is going to be ramping down his content creation for EVE Echoes. Now, I wish Sovereign all the best in all his future endeavours. I am staying subscribed to him because he does have some really cool content and some really interesting stuff to say on the other games that he's playing as well, so it's well worth checking him out just for those. But if you're following me because you like to know what's going on in EVE Echoes, you really should go and check out Sovereign's videos as well. He's got a lot of really cool, awesome stuff that I personally didn't cover because I thought Sovereign had already got it covered much better than I could. But this does bring me to the point that now going forward, whereas I'd kind of given Sovereign that kind of, I didn't bother to do much of the daily news kind of content. Sovereign had that covered and he did it so much better than I ever could. All these, little quick bugs and things that were popping up, little news from the developers, that kind of thing. Sovereign really had his finger on the pulse, and it is going to be sad to see him go, but I do wish him all the best in future endeavours, and this now means that I suppose I need to step up my game in reporting on all those little details too. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. I am going to be going over the dev Q&A that came out on Friday last week, and now with all of this, it may mean that I end up putting out a video on Saturday going forward. I didn't manage to get this one out in time on Saturday, so we're doing it today instead, but going forward, who knows, I'll be doing a lot more of these little news segments, I think, anyway. Now, if you do enjoy this video, let me know by hitting a like on it, sub to the channel for all things EVE Echoes, ding the notification bell to never miss a video, and of course, let me know in the comment section down below what ships and topics you want to see covered in future videos. If you've got a particular video you'd like to see me make, do let me know, and I'll see if I can add it to the list and eventually get round to sorting it. Now, as well, if you do want to go the extra mile to help support this channel, we do have a Patreon, and indeed a Redbubble merchandise store, and I got to send some really cool pictures from folks over the weekend of various different Captain Benzie merch that they've bought and are wearing, and it just, it's so heartening to see. Like, I know it sounds probably really arrogant, but it's just so cool to see a design that's based on me, that my wife drew, being worn by some dude in America or Russia or wherever. That's just, I love it. I love it so much. So thank you guys for the support. Right, so today then we are going to be looking at the developer Q&A here for the 17th of March to the 23rd of March. Let's see what the questions asked were, and what the responses were given. Comparing ships is difficult. Could you allow two ship information windows to be opened side by side so that they can be compared? Now, this is actually a really cool feature. I think, yeah, it would certainly help. You've seen I've done videos where I'm comparing things like the Thrasher Fleet issue with the Thrasher Interdictor. Being able to actually drop those side by side would be really cool. Instead, I sit here with a notebook and a pen, and I literally write it all out step by step. I actually go through all of this, I look at it side by side, I break out a calculator and work out what the differences are, that kind of thing there. So I do it manually. Having the ability to actually compare ships side by side would be a really cool little function. Certainly I think that there should be a module version of this, that like when you change gear in other MMOs, you'll see that this stat goes up, that stat goes down. Having that when you kind of go over, say you've got like, strike cannons fitted and you want to compare them to autocannons, you can have a look exactly side by side what the differences are going to be, or heck, even the different types of that. Maybe that's asking a bit much, but anyway. What Cloud says here from NetEase, we will consider adding a module ship comparing feature, but due to the complexity of this, we will need time to design and implement this. I do agree, it is a cool little system. I also agree with Cloud here that yes, it is quite a complex thing to add. It's also fairly niche. It would be amazing to have it, but I do agree it should be fairly low priority compared to some of the other bigger, more exciting features coming. That said, I would love to have this function. What are your plans about other types of drones, like mining drones or Webfire drones? Now, this is, again, a really interesting question. In EVE Online, you get all these different types of drones, including, for one of my personal favourites, logistics drones. Yes, the ability to heal yourself using drones is pretty sweet. You get salvage drones, mining drones, all of these kind of things here. And that would be a great little functionality to add into EVE Echoes. Now, of course, one of the big things about drones in EVE Online is that a lot of ships that don't have drones in Echoes do have them in Online, which includes certain frigates, most cruisers, battle cruisers, that kind of thing. You know, you may find that whereas in Echoes the only frigates that can use drones are currently the Tristan and the Worm with the Astero on the way. Crikey, I couldn't think of the name of the Astero. With the Astero on the way, you'll find that there are even ships like the Dromiel does have the capability of launching drones with it, which is, you know, it's an interesting aside. So it's why you get all these different types of drones in EVE Online. I'd love to see those be added in the future. Great that we now know when the faction drones are coming, like the Imperial Navy and the Republic Fleet and all that, in August with the Arena, if you didn't watch my video on that. It says here, though, we plan on adding salvaging and mining drones after we first further improve the gameplay experience in nullsec regions and the tutorial. Now, this means as well, we can actually get a kind of date from this. As we've just said, the faction drones are coming in August as part of the Arena update. In August, we also have the beginner experience makeover as well, with the whole new tutorial. Now, here they're saying that these mining and salvaging drones would be added after the tutorial, so don't expect this anytime before August 2021. Probably, I'd imagine, somewhere around October, November, these are likely to be added. Now, salvaging, for those of you who don't know, is basically looting. It means rather than having to fly out all the way to a particular item, you can send your salvage drones and they will go and collect the debris and items, etc. You also have things like tractor beams in EVE Online that allow you to pull all of those wrecks towards you so that you can loot them quicker that way. And salvaging does actually become a viable pastime in EVE Online. It's something I would like to see added to Echoes. Certainly things like salvaging catalysts or salvaging thrashers are fairly popular builds, and anything that gets people in destroyers more, again, I am all for. Interesting point though here, it mentions the salvaging and mining drones, which is really, really cool, and I can imagine a lot of retriever and even venture pilots sitting there eyeing up their drone slots going, yay, I can mine more stuff quickly. But here, improve the gameplay experience in nullsec regions. I'm not entirely sure what they mean there. Looking at, I did before recording this, I read through all of this obviously, I went through the Trello and had a look, and I'm not entirely sure what they mean about improve the gameplay experience in nullsec regions. That could be additional sovereignty, that could be the new Dead Space stuff, I don't know, and that's really quite cool that they are focusing a little bit on null. And I know a lot of people are high-sec or low-sec based, and that's fine. You guys already have a lot of really lucrative ways of making ISK, running encounters, that kind of thing. For those of us out in nullsec, it can be difficult jumping in between, you know, you don't get encounters in nullsec, so you have to jump into highsec. And if someone's camping Enrail and Karbi and Zendaya, then suddenly you're kind of stuck in nullsec for the day, unless you can get together a proper gate camp bust. So I like the fact they're adding a bit more there to nullsec as well. Obviously, if you're in highsec, that's cool. Come and join nullsec. You know, spend some time out here as well. If you've got two characters, at least make one of them a nullsec character. If you join a proper corporation and alliance, you'll find that you get a load of lucrative opportunities added to you, plus the best PvP and friendship experiences you can have in the game. And certainly you should know that in EVE, the very best ship of all is friendship. Anyway, moving on to the next questions. Please add in the settings the ability to select the priority of the target for the attack after the auto-lock button. It is now automatically the largest ship. This is not always convenient. We will consider this function, says Wilson, though we will focus on our current development roadmap first. And I kind of agree with this. Like, okay, look, controversial Benzie alert, but if you want to play an idle game, download AFK Arena, for crying out loud. I'm sick and tired of seeing the frickin' adverts for it. You guys can't be unaware of all these idle games. If you want to play EVE Echoes, then play it. Stop asking for ways to AFK the game. What, you just want to sit in an encounter, hit a target on the first thing, and let the game play itself out for the next half an hour? What's the point in playing a game if you're just going to not play it and you're going to try and find the developers to get them to add ways to not play the game? Like, no, come on. Come on here. Like, I can't be alone in thinking this, surely. That if you're asking for ways to basically automate the game for you, then you probably should go and find another game. If you dislike EVE Echoes so much that you wish it was automated, delete it. Find a game. Like, seriously, I love EVE Echoes and I don't want people to leave, but if you are not enjoying this game, You need to know that it is okay to delete it and move on with your life and find something that you do enjoy. I think it is vital. I think it is vital that, you know, as humans, especially with the last couple of years we've had, we need to be able to sit down and go, you know what, I'm not enjoying this, let me find something that I am enjoying. Find your happiness. Stop sitting in misery and hoping it will change. You need to be the change. Go and find a game you do enjoy playing. Now look, I kinda get it. Obviously, I'm a frigate pilot, so I try to take out the smalls and the mediums first. You've seen most of my videos. I'll take out the frigates and the destroyers first of all, then I'll work my way up the size. This could be an easy fix. They could just literally go, okay, well, we'll switch the size around, so that you auto-target to the small ones, then onto the mediums and the larges, and, you know, okay, fair enough. But adding in a whole system that you can choose a target priority, like what, the Gambit system from Final Fantasy XII? That's an intensive bit of programming there. And I just really don't think it's necessary. I think there are so many things the development team could be doing more important than that. I think possibly a toggle that changes it from highest to, largest to smallest to largest, yeah, fine. But if you're trying to find ways to automate the game, please do yourself a favour and find something you enjoy in life. Seriously, not for me to stop complaining about this kind of crap, but for you, like, love yourself. Seriously, people, love yourself, enjoy the games you play, and if you're not enjoying it, find something else, move on. It's okay. When will we have exploration, they say, and this is the big one that I've been waiting for. Any details about it? Well, we know from the Trello roadmap it's going to be May, and Dennis here confirms this. We will add exploration in May. Huzzah! Hopefully this is going to be part of the big balance patch. This patch is going to be huge, like, oh my goodness. We're going to have all the balance patch, we're going to have new ships, new modules, all the exploration stuff going on. Please, please, please add the Sisters of Eve. Of course, that is the Estero, that is the Sisters of Eve faction frigate. I did do a video on this on the test server. Oh my goodness, I love it. And talking about Sovereign RPG at the beginning, he did a really cool series of videos on the Stratios, and I think he did one on the Nestor as well, I don't remember. I definitely did one on the Stratios, and it's a really cool ship. I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy these. Certainly, I cannot wait for the Estero. It's not so much a combat frigate. It's not like the Worm. If you want to use drones to go out and kill people, the Worm is usually your better option of doing so. But the Estero, this thing gets covert ops cloaking devices, plus very powerful drones. It's designed to basically go out and explore space, and then if something happens, it has enough teeth to defend itself. I can't wait for that to be added. Now, the interesting part here, you will be able to participate in this through a simplified, compared to EVE Online, scanning mechanic and access NIHILUS Space, where players can obtain special materials. More details to be shared later. Now, first of all, simplified compared to EVE Online. I know a lot of people, like, have a hernia when you hear this. Oh, they're dumbing it down, they're making... Go and actually try scanning in EVE Online, because this was something I did an awful lot on an alt. I had a probe, and I'd go around scanning for wormholes, I'd scan for more lucrative mining sites, that kind of thing. What scanning allows you to do, essentially, just to jump ahead, scanning allows you to essentially launch probes into space, and you play this cool little mini-game where it's kind of like a hot and cold. You triangulate the position using your scouting drones. So you place drones in position, in like big circles into a nice wide coverage area, and you'll get like a, yes, there appears to be something approximately this way. So you now have to narrow your drones scanning and move the drones, reposition them to narrow in on that signal and eventually find out what it is. And it could be more lucrative mining belts. It could be a rare pirate anomaly that you can go into and go ratting and kill some really lucrative and expensive ships. It could be entire things like an enemy station that you find, it could be gas clouds, and it could, of course, be the eponymous wormholes. Now, wormholes, again, have two main functions in EVE Online. First of all, when you jump into a wormhole, you come into what's referred to as J space. I think you do also get N space and other things as well, which we'll come to in a second. N space, NIHILUS Space, negative space. Ultimately, you go into a wormhole and you have this environment inside it that often does have some very powerful NPCs and some very lucrative materials. That in itself can be worth going into, and entire battles have been fought over wormholes. You can also use a wormhole to occasionally connect A to B, and some of these are semi-permanent, some of them close after a brief period of time and disappear forever. And trust me, the idea of having a wormhole that shaves off 15 jumps between you and HiSec, for example, is a really lucrative thing to find and sell to the highest bidder. A corporation that has access to this obviously can skip around enemy fleets, can redeploy very quickly, and can drop all of their stuff in high sec much faster than their opponents and their opposition, so wormholes can be really, really interesting. But, yes, it's a very complicated mechanic. You're sitting there with all of these probes, and you've got to change the size and the radius of the probe scanning range for its intensity and how accurate it's going to be. You have to position them in three-dimensional space, and that's a difficult thing to do. Try it out on EVE Online. EVE Online's completely free to download, so download it on PC, give it a try, or just Google some, look up on YouTube some scanning tutorials. It's a complex system. So of course, to get it onto a phone screen, it does need to be simplified a little bit, and I'm all for that. Now, NIHILUS Space appears to be wormhole space. I can only think of that as being wormholes. It doesn't sound like dead spaces. We've had abyssal dead spaces mentioned, which appear to be the higher versions of dead spaces that have the materials that allow you to upgrade your C-type gear to B-type and eventually A-type. NIHILUS Space has not been mentioned before, and it says here players can obtain special materials, more details to be shared later. I wouldn't be surprised if those special materials might be things that you trade to get the Sisters of Eve debris. It could even be the Sisters of Eve debris itself, and therefore, that's how you get your Astero, your Stratios, and your Nesta. We can hope. Certainly, exploration is one of these mechanics that I am super excited about. I've been waiting for this since EVE Echoes launched. We were told before the game launched in some Q&As back between the final test, the open beta and the final test, that exploration was going to be added. It was just a bit further down the line. Now, it is right on the doorstep, and I could not be more excited for this. I know it's not necessarily everyone's shindig, it's not necessarily something that people are going to be interested in, but I do recommend everyone dabble in it at least once just to get a feel for it and see if it is something they enjoy. And if it is, awesome, you're getting a whole new feature added to the game in May. If it's not something you enjoy, well, it's still more content, which means your friends are going to stick around for longer, and you get all of these cool little additions as well, things that you may not have had access to before. And that, I think, is something we need to look at as well. It's not always a case of, does this benefit me? Does it benefit the community? Look around you and say, does this change benefit the community? Are people getting something they didn't have before? Even if I don't like it, I think it's important to look and say that, yeah, other people are getting something they didn't have before, and that's awesome. This is not a zero-sum game. It's not a case of if someone else gets something and you don't, they're doing better than you. Sometimes it's nice to just say, they're getting something, that's really cool. Like if they added nothing but industrial skins for the next month, I'd be like, cool, the industrial pilots deserve something like this, that's really cool. I don't fly industrial ships, but good on those guys who get to use that. Anyway, folks, this is Captain Benzie. I am trying to be a positive force of positivity, a positive force of positivity in this community. Yes, we're going with that. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt and sell it on Redbubble soon as well. And I hope you guys will support, and continue that positivity going forward as well. Reddit can get pretty toxic. Even my YouTube comments can get toxic. I've watched my personal Discord get pretty toxic recently, and I think as a community we need to come together to combat that and look forward to the exciting adventures that we are going to have together in New Eden as EVE Echoes moves into 2021 further and further into the year. And of course, if you're not enjoying the game, that's okay. Do what Sovereign has done, take a break. Look after your mental health first and foremost, and then you can look to possibly come back and experience the game in further detail later on and enjoy it then with a new update. And if it turns out that actually those updates aren't doing it for you either, that's okay. Find a new game. Find something that you do enjoy playing and have an awesome time with it. Anyway, folks, happy sailing and see you in New Eden.